Hey guys.
Baby Yoda in the building. David Bravo is back. We missed him. We had one episode without him, and it was too much. But he is back in the building.
Shit is going downhill now, guys.
How are you guys doing?
Good. It's hot as fuck.
It is hot in the city.
David, you got your test done?
Yeah, I'm clear. I'm good.
Send that screenshot.
You never had it?
No syphilis. I mean, no, wait. This is the COVID stuff, right?
Send that screenshot.
No, it says undetected.
Cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Jacques, how you doing?
Doing good. Thank you for asking.
Not with that shirt on.
Oh, I'm watching Arsenal.
Shots
Good old
fired,
Arsenal.
shots fired.
Actually got a W on the weekend for once. No, good. Just carrying on from the other day, really. Nothing much has changed. I got absolutely pissed on in the rain like about an hour ago. That's kind of sent me, but yeah, I was just finishing a workout and I was like, hey, it's not too bad. And then it was just like fucking like, the only concern at that point is like, will I ruin all my electronics, like the headphones and the phone? So shout out to Lululemon for the waterproof bag. It's all good. How you doing, Angel?
Doing well. Phase 2. Got the haircut.
Oh God.
Shit. Phase 2. Had to represent.
Well, it looks like I got a haircut, so we're good.
Did you really?
Nope.
How long are you growing it for?
I don't fucking know, man.
And that beard? Look at that beard.
No, I gotta do something about this. I mean,
You could put braids in that beard. It's so long.
Yeah, probably.
Like a little Jack Sparrow or something?
Holy smokes. Yeah,
Put a bit of
I mean, the handlebars.
Wow.
Oh my God. You're going to put gel on that.
That's insane.
That's funny though.
So yeah, if you guys, for those listening, check out the YouTube so you can actually see how thick David Bravo's beard is.
not just the beard.
Without further ado, we're going to bring on our guest. His name is Bryan Richards. He used to work with us. He's a former employee at our luxury fitness gym. Former, I should say, like current bodybuilding competitor, because you never lose that spot. Once you got the IFBB Pro stamp, you're always IFBB Pro till you die.
Pro card.
And part of the dorm community, or the dorm. So without further ado, let's hear it for Bryan Richards.
My man.
Hey.
What's up, Bryan?
Yo.
What's going on? How you doing?
Not much, man. You know, hanging in there.
What's up, Bryan?
Yo,
Look to the left real quick.
Wow.
Yo.
Damn, that's long.
Oh, snap.
Thought I cut it? Not a chance.
Wow. That's cool, man.
Thanks.
Yo, first of all, the positioning, I don't know if it's the positioning of the screen, but Bryan looks like 3 times bigger than the last time I saw him.
I'm wearing all black, so it's
You just blend right in.
shape. Okay. The shape is good, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah.
Definitely
So first and foremost, thank you for taking the time out of your day. I know you only have until like right before 3 because you have a class. So thank you for your time, and we'll try not to waste any of it. So I'll ask only good questions. All right.
There's only one person here that can waste my time, so don't even worry.
Cool. With that said, we'll dive right in. Let's talk a little bit about your fitness career, or turning your passion into your career. So if you can, just explain a little bit about like, how did you first get into fitness, and then how did you turn that passion into your career?
I guess it all boils down to what I actually want to do in the world. I wanted to be a superhero for all of my life, and it started by trying to be super strong, but the end goal was to help people. So I started working out, and then my friend was a boxer. I started going to the gym with him, and then people would ask me, what do I do for this? What do I do for that? I don't know. So someone told me I should look into it, and I started reading about it, and then I was like, I'm getting stronger. I'm getting faster. Something's working. So then I decided to go to school to become a personal trainer. And it's actually been a much better journey than I even expected, because the amount of change that I've seen in people just firsthand has been, for me, delight, and something that I want to do on a greater scale. So I'm hopeful that I can continue with this and do more in the world. But it's all about helping people be better than they were yesterday.
That's awesome. I can kind of like resonate with that a little bit too. Like sometimes you see the progress in yourself, and then you try to have your clients go through the same thing. And then when you see it, it's kind of like you get more excited sometimes than they do, because you know, like that's only just like the first milestone or the first step in the right direction. And there's more to come if they just stay with it. So I totally agree. And I think these guys can totally agree with that sort of sentiment. With that said though, switching gears towards like your bodybuilding career, what kind of like seeing that stuff in yourself and going through your bodybuilding career, which is continuing, right? Because I said this before the podcast, I corrected myself just so you know. I almost said former bodybuilding competitor, and I was like, no, this is IFBB Pro. Once you get that stamp, you die with it, right? So how have you made an impact in the fitness community using like your bodybuilding career or your involvement in bodybuilding? How have you made an impact in the fitness career or the fitness community?
So, I mean, I've been able to use that as a way to promote myself. So I just have a little bit of broader reach, because I can say I'm a professional. People would listen to LeBron James when they talk about basketball versus just a random guy who may be good on the street. So just having that accolade is actually before my name, not after, like a doctor or anything, but having those letters gives me a little bit more like respectability in that. And I am probably going to continue bodybuilding. It's fun to do, and it gives me a goal to reach for, and it makes working out much more fun. But it's just not going to happen right now. Right now, it's obviously, you should see the home gym that I built. I got a lot of equipment, and I put together a nice little thing in that small room over there. My outreach in the fitness community, it's basically, I did a bunch of photo shoots with a bunch of famous people, and that only came because I was popular at the time. I did a big campaign for pit bulls, which is one of my favorite things to have done, advocating for pit bulls and raising money and awareness that obviously they're not this deadly breed of animal that people pretend to believe that they are. So that was probably my favorite thing doing, and that would not have come. I actually competed. I beat someone in a competition, and he knew the photographer, so he connected me with the photographer, and that's how I got into it. So it just piggybacked off of it, and being fit helped, obviously.
Yeah, that can't hurt, right? It can't hurt. People start to listen to you.
Yeah.
But that's funny that you say that. So like kind of like one thing leading into another, did you already have, like, one of the things I admire about you, it is going to go like backward and forward, but one of the things I admire about you is like how you always have like your heart on your sleeve. And it's very, for me, I would never do that because it would put me in a very vulnerable position. And I think like that's one of my biggest fears, like being vulnerable. But you walk around with that heart on your sleeve, right? Whether people like it or not, they're going to accept you or they're not going to accept you, and they could just move on. But using that to kind of like using bodybuilding in order to help promote like other things as well, like fitness, health, but then also like other outreaches and other places, is something that is interesting, because if I were in your shoes, I would probably do the bodybuilding thing and then shut up about everything else, right? Because I'm just like scared of what people might think. You got followers, people expect something from you, et cetera, et cetera. What are some of the ways that you kind of like, I know it's part of who you are, but what are some of the ways that you kind of like have it in your head where you're just like, I'm going to do this because I feel like it's right? Like, do you have any tactics, any tips, any strategies, or do you just like say how you feel when you feel it, and then people live with it or don't?
Okay. So when I was younger, I was really, 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 really shy. Like I wasn't able to talk to strangers. My voice would crack. I was really shy, and I was a yes man. So someone said, "Let's go somewhere." Yes. Let's do this. Yes. It was never. I'd never even asked like, "Where are we going?" or "What are we going to do?" It's just straight up yes. And there came a point in my life where that kind of made me sad. So this actually, I'll tell you the whole story. So my hair growing, me getting promoted at my last job, and me being less shy all happened at the same time. So it started with me just working hard and being quiet, and then people notice that, and then you get promoted, so then you have to talk. So I had to learn how to speak to people who didn't like me and who did like me, and just like communicate effectively. And I found myself being much more confident in that even if I'm wrong, I know that I'm trying to be good. So like, I've been wrong. We've all been wrong, but where it comes from to me matters more than like what it actually is. So the fear of failing someone like emotionally or being like, something like that, it's gone now because I know that I lead with empathy and like love. I don't know how else to be. So when I say things that hurt people, one, I mean it usually, and then I obviously will apologize about how it was received. It's hard for me to apologize for, unless I realize that I was like absolutely wrong, I will apologize. But it's hard for me to apologize for something that hurt someone if it meant so much to me. And I will obviously apologize that it hurt them, and I will try to get them to understand where I'm coming from. But it's a balance of trusting yourself and believing in yourself, and like, I mean, it starts with your basic baseline beliefs, but I believe in myself, and I believe that I'm doing like trying to be a superhero. I've always been trying to be a superhero. I'm trying to be better, trying to do good. So that's where I get my confidence, is that like being good is not a bad thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So like the intention's leading the way, and then like whatever flows from that will generally be good. But then if there's havoc, like, you know, I don't want to say Superman because, you know, Superman is Superman, but whatever damage gets done from doing the good, then the superhero has to kind of clean up. So kind of like in that same sort of theme. But as long as the intent is good, people will be like, you know what, that was good that he said that. I'm happy he said that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oftentimes people don't like hearing things that they don't necessarily believe in, or they wouldn't actually say. But when you hear those things, like we all think things and like shove them away in a corner of our brain because you can't say that, or you shouldn't say that, or you shouldn't think that. But you thought it, right? So why hide it from yourself? Say it. Get it out. I mean, obviously there's limits to that, but just who you are is who you are. You can't hide from yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah, I guess that's true. You can't really like move away from that because you are who you are, and that is what it is. Like you can't just start backpedaling and having
people. I don't
people
like who you are, Bryan. So that's different.
I know, and I'm sorry that you don't like who I am. Don't like someone, but not me.
All right, last question, and this is probably going to get a little bit more professional. So can you explain a little bit about the dorm and how your partnership with them has impacted your perspective on fitness as it relates to wellness?
Yes, the dorm, probably my favorite thing to talk about today. So I am a personal trainer at the dorm. The dorm is a rehab facility for young adults, adolescents and young adults, generally ranging, Bryan, between the ages of 18 and a little bit over 30. Most of the people there either are struggling with substance abuse and or some emotional, some mental health issues. And so fitness in that, it's been, like for me, it has been like a dream come true to be able to see the impact, obviously working as a trainer with clients who are fine. Most of them are, professional and they can afford training. So they've succeeded in the world, but
Right.
to work with people who have been struggling with either addiction or anxiety or depression or any kind of mental illness, and you see, like, once you can get them to be physically vulnerable, like you can stand behind them and they're comfortable with that, there's like a switch that turns on. It turns off, obviously, and turns back on, but it's a switch that you see, like, a person growing. Obviously, it's not that simple, but fitness is one of the, in my opinion, fastest ways to get tangible evidence about working hard to show results in any way, like cardiovascular fitness, building muscle, like whatever. Like, you can do it and you will see results relatively fast, or feel results relatively fast, in comparison to like anything else, like studying for something, take a test, you fail, you feel like shit. With fitness, it's almost always, you feel something new. And I have personally seen how having, like, you did one push-up the first day I saw you, then you did 7 today. Like, that kind of growth, how that affects people emotionally and mentally. And I think that it's a great tool for social workers in general and therapists to have people move, because moving is obviously one of the best medicines. And I think it's a great tool for me to work with therapists, and like, they brief me on the client and then I get a better understanding of a whole new population of people. So I have knowledge on how to work with, like, a myriad of different types of people with different types of disorders or illnesses or other things. And I think that should be a training that we all get, actually. I think that it should happen in school before we get out into the world, but it's not. But for me, I feel like it's a huge benefit.
That's awesome. I think definitely it's cool to see you grow in that aspect, right? So like we spoke a little bit briefly about how we knew you before, and it's cool to see like your professional trajectory kind of like shoot up, so that way you can kind of like learn about all these, different types of working with different people with different needs and different wants, and it's awesome to kind of like have somebody like that in our network, and then also see what the next steps are. So thanks for sharing some of that. And I'll leave it up to these guys to kind of like ask more thought-provoking questions.
Man. So, Bryan, I remember when I started working at Equinox with you, what was it, 2015, I think? And I remember some of the conversations we had were like, or like, there were some conversations you had mentioned to me about like, oh, I might leave or this. And like, to me, it was always, I don't know if it was a demographic. I don't know if it was the environment. Like, to me, it was always, in my head, I was like, oh, if Bryan leaves before he gets full time, it's like, this is a crime. I was like, because this guy, you should be getting like people through the door, like a waiting list, like how either Mike or Derek Nash had, like, just because they've been there a bit longer. And to me, I was always like, no, this is like, just, I mean, I understand, like, having been through the process with you, I understand like how frustrating it is when you begin. So that's the one thing, kind of piggyback of what Angel said. Like, it's awesome to see the progression, like from those conversations we had where we were like, haven't quite made it at that point. So it was awesome to see like the growth. And also touching based on what you mentioned, like with mental health issues. I've done a ton of reading on preventative care with cognitive or mental health issues. And one of the underlying treatments that's not free, but accessible to anyone is like health and exercise. It's a constant theme of like showing the studies before and after patients had done exercise. And there's so many different studies on whether it was strength training or cardiovascular training, like you mentioned, but ultimately the pattern and that is there and apparent is the improvements, right, of their mental health, because there's usually not, I know you said like sometimes substance abuse, there's so much not like a cure, but like some of the more serious ones that you mentioned, sometimes there isn't a cure, and health and wellness is the ultimate like treatment, if you will. I did want to turn a little bit of a different direction. So I know, you know, everything's going on in the world with, you know, the death of George Floyd and the murders before, that you've been very active with the protests, you know, and rightfully so. We definitely support you with that. I do want to ask you on that note, how do you think the fitness industry can use its platform to unify and fight against racial injustice?
So I think the first thing we have to do is define what the fitness industry is, right? Is it Nike, Reebok, and like fitness clothing, or is it bodybuilders or sports and athletes and things like that? So the industry as a whole, I don't think it's fair to box everyone in. But I do believe that everyone should say something. It's as easy as saying something, because I mean, everything starts with a conversation, and some people will be offended both ways, but everything starts with a conversation. And if you can speak respectfully, two people speaking respectfully with two opposing arguments, it's as easy as coming to a logical reasoning to find out which one makes either more sense or agree to disagree. But
Right.
starting with a conversation is the most important thing. Just to finish up on that, I had a conversation with someone who was coming into the dorm, and he's like, he doesn't like that the dorm is standing up for Black Lives Matter. He said that this is supposed to be a neutral space, and I'm supposed to get help here, and I don't want to be around that. And I'm not a therapist yet, but I told him, I understand how you feel that way and why you feel that way. I want you to understand, it's my belief that there is no neutral stance. There's no neutral. It's either you think Black Lives Matter or you don't. You can't say,
There's no in between.
I think Black Lives Matter, blank. Like, no, there's no neutral. So saying that you think Black Lives Matter or standing for the movement of that is the right thing to do. There's no way around that, unless you want this to be a whitewashed union, which is racist and evil. That's just actually factual. Sorry if Dave.
No, it doesn't offend me. I think it's true.
And I told him that it's good for him to say that he doesn't want it, and it's good for him to hear that there is no neutral. So that in itself was a lesson for him to take home and process and figure out. He's obviously speaking with his therapist about it and things like that. But like, saying neutral is basically saying that I agree with the way it was, and
without admitting you are racist, right? Like without stating it.
Exactly, and that's where he's going to have to get. I didn't take him all the way there, but I told him that you're going to have to define neutral, and there is no neutral.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think that's like, I had a conversation with someone like when I came back from the city 2 weeks ago, and like I think most of the protests had kind of died down by that point. You know, the peaceful and the looting was done. Not as many peaceful protests, but someone I spoke to said, okay, and what for what was like, okay, we get it, enough protesting. And in my head, I'm like, if 2 weeks of protesting on one hand, 400 years of racial injustice on the other, like, right, you're upset about 2 weeks of protesting. Yeah. And then you can imagine the race, right? You can imagine, right? But you have like it to me. Maybe I didn't hear it as soundly when I heard it first come out, and then when I retold Alex, my girlfriend, about it, I was like, wow, that's actually really bad. I think that's terrible. And another comment as well was, I said, I think if the protesting is peaceful, there is nothing wrong with it. Again, the looting, I never agree to the looting. I don't agree with that kind of destruction, right? Doesn't prove anything. And someone else I spoke to said, I'm just worried about my taxes, where my taxes are going, if they're ruining the cars. Like, without even identifying, people have been killed, people have lost their lives unnecessarily and for an unjust manner. But the first thing that came out was, I'm worried about my money. And they like, it is fucking crazy that those are some of the first things that people think about or make a remark. And whereas like, oh, is it really upsetting that someone lost their life, or like, what could that have been handled differently? You know, had that have been done differently, we wouldn't have had this backlash, had things, whatever it is. But the first thing some people say is, like you said, neutral. Like that's for them. That's
And
neutral.
that's the privilege in it. You know, they have the
and they
privilege to worry about that first.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. The fact that you're worrying about where the fuck your money's going, as opposed to you, that just point in case, right? They don't have to worry about their lives. You know, like they don't have to worry about going for a run. They don't have to worry about being in their own apartment, maybe being shot. Like they don't have to worry about that shit. And then, like you said, the first thing you worry about is like where your money's going. Are you fucking serious? So that like that to me, it's almost like when I've spoken to like some people about it, I've said I actually feel really fucking embarrassed to be white. Like it's nothing compared to, like, again, I only ever try and have empathy for how difficult it is for anyone of color, but like I'm so on a different note, I'm so fucking embarrassed to be white. Like it's so disgusting, and like it's I didn't want to cut you off there, Brian. You want to jump in? Sorry.
I understand everything that you're saying. I do not support looting, but when everyone says it's not necessary, there are so many marches that have happened within the past like 5 years that have not been televised. No one knew, nothing happened. There's a reason that the looting got everyone's attention. It's because their stores and their businesses and their things meant more to them and mean more to them than other people's lives. So when you take a person's life, they don't really care so much, but you start taking their things and you really get their attention. I don't think that looting is sustainably away, and looting is probably even the wrong word. I think that the violence that has come from the beginning of these protests is like kicking the door down. It's necessary. It's important to wake people up, because just protesting in the streets peacefully, letting cars
You can ignore that, right? You cannot show up. You can ignore it. You cannot watch on TV. Yeah.
So this is like saying, we are here, listen to us. And it would not have happened without that. So I am grateful for that. And it sounds really bad. And it is really bad. It's a bad situation all around. And people have lost their life savings. Some people lost their businesses. Like, things about it do really suck. But the sad part is it's like a casualty of war. Like, which is it's also disgusting to say when you're just thinking about human rights and you're talking about war. It's nasty. But like, it's important for people to be heard. It's important for people to matter. And the only way for Black people and people of color to matter right now is to do harm to people's things.
Yeah, you can even like make the argument that like, mental health and mental illness, right? Like people didn't even see that on the map until like people started getting shot with like mass shootings and things like that. And they started to break it down. So that's interesting that you said it's kind of like, it's kind of messed up, fucked up. It's a fucked up situation either way you look at it, but almost like a casualty or kind of like something that happens, like a ramification or a consequence of the situation for a long period of time. Like there's only so much that you can fit into that bottle before the bottle explodes.
Right. It's like a gas leak, right? It's like gas has been leaking in America for a long time. Black people have been begging for rights. When my father was born, we couldn't vote. Like,
that's crazy.
He wasn't allowed in certain places. So like, it's not that long ago that we finally got the rights as humans to vote, right? There are so many things that have happened over the last 20 years, like for human rights, that like if you ask anyone, they're like, how did that just happen? Like people are people, right? But, like,
yeah, it's wild.
Behind in that, and like the gas has been leaking and someone lit a match, and now look, there was an explosion. Cool. Now we can put the fire out, and now we can figure out how to stop the gas from leaking again. But it's not going to happen by obviously us just peacefully protesting, and then people say, okay, they're peacefully protesting. What do you think they want? Let's give them what they want. No, we're going to have to, like, there's never been a time in history, ever in history, not just America, in all history, where the oppressors have peacefully given the oppressed anything, ever. And like, they're writing Black Lives Matter on the streets. They're taking out certain words. They're taking out certain monuments because they're, for lack of a better term, let me use a better term, they're walking on eggshells around the edge of the problem still. And they don't realize that it's just going to keep leaking, and it's just going to keep happening. And so like, it's important for us to, all of us in fitness industry and not, to just don't be quiet, because we can let it simmer down and let it die down, but I mean, I'm obviously not. I'm not. I refuse. And if it takes burning down a building, I'm not an arsonist. I probably won't.
Start with Trump Tower, one of them.
There's a lot of protection there right now.
That was gonna be my next point. Was I can't. I feel like a bad U.S. resident. I can't remember when of the year Columbus Day is, but I was so surprised when I know. Tell me about it. I shouldn't really, right, but I never forget. I think it was most recently, and I went past Columbus Circle, and I was like, why is there so much security? And I was like, oh, it's because they're so conscious that people might want to try and fuck up that statue, right? Mm-hmm. And like you just mentioned, when we went there for the first time since all this happened, since like March, like you mentioned, Trump Tower's got a lot of security and Columbus Circle's got a lot of security because they've seen those other statues, like in England. I can't remember the guy's name, but this guy was a slave trader, and then what they did was they brought the statue down, they threw it right where the docks where he would bring them in, which I thought was like, you know, the irony of it. But like when I've spoken to some people about it, they said I said you should rename Columbus Circle, you should take down that statue. I don't know if you want to call it West 59th, I don't care, but like, and I'll be completely honest, part of it for maybe someone like myself was always like not having any education, right? And I'll admit that, for example, I didn't know much about Malcolm X till recently. And I'm a little bit ashamed to admit that, having been in the States for 5-6 years now. But like, all right, I'm willing to put my hand up and admit that I should have learned more. And I'm going to do more now. And
that should be on the citizenship sort of deal.
It should.
What I mean?
Right?
Like, and it's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's kind of like you should. Because you have people who come into this country and they don't know that,
right?
Like, it's as tense as it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they don't. And I'll tell you that as well, that when I think something as well that it's like I said, it's the educational part of it, where it's not like I didn't know a lot about this, just period. Like, you know, everyone gets pissed. I don't remember the holidays. There's like fucking 20 holidays in the US. I never remember any of them except for Christmas and Thanksgiving. But it part of it's educational standpoint, right? And like I mentioned, when I spoke to someone else about like, oh, they should take down Columbus Circle. Fuck it. Like that is just pure proof that we're okay with like, oh, it's in the past now. Like I think the Panthers took down a statue at their stadium in the Carolinas as well. I think there was wasn't there a tie with that as well?
Yeah. Yes, they should take them down. It's pathetic that they're using the excuse that it's their heritage. It's not their heritage. They don't have a heritage. It's not a heritage. That is to protect slavery and the history of America. The history of America is ugly. Listen, It's okay. Like, we all made mistakes. We've all done bad things. Just admit that the history of America is ugly. And then say, we messed up. We're going to be better. That's all they have.
Yeah.
So many people, and you don't remember the holidays. That's fine. And you don't know about.
I try to. I swear.
You don't know about Malcolm. Oh, it's okay. You don't know about Malcolm X. Malcolm X he's got like 4 pages in a history textbook. Like
that's crazy. That's like, to me, what we learned so far. That's crazy.
I mean, the biggest thing for that is, I mean, he was seen as a huge radical, you know, and he's a very violent guy.
But
that's what everybody thinks of it, and they don't want to say it.
But the fact that in his 60s, the fact that as oppressed as, you know, people of color were, and the fact that he can just, again, he's taking a lot of risk, right? And people want him dead, right? And he still knowingly does that, goes out and speaks out, and like, you know, and I think they document on his death that there was like no police inside, or they were in the back. There was 2 police officers in the back. Like there wasn't a heavy police presence. It was after he died, and just lots of things that's pure ignorance, right? That's just well.
But it's also it's done on purpose. They know these things, but they want to make sure that they don't have a security detail. You know why? Because they know that there are white supremacists that want to kill them. So let's lower security and let's let people do it, but we didn't do it. And
let the system do it. Yeah.
And the same thing is happening with, like, right now, everyone protesting for these past 3 weeks, right? COVID is running wild in America. Running wild. People are dying, like 1,000 people a day are dying, but people are out in every single state marching, putting their lives and the lives of their loved ones at risk. And there's a reason for that. And all of the white supremacists and the people who still live with that Confederate heritage, they don't want that. But people are willing to die to make this place a better place, and that should be.
That's something. That's something that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
It's that was the thing I've noticed as well. Like some people wear masks, some people aren't. I know Angel. I saw you in one as well. I think David, were you in some as well?
In what?
Peaceful protest.
I think it was 20 protest.
No. Well, I saw one Juneteenth. Like, saw that, took part in it, like kind of from the side, but without changing it too much, I did, before like David asked you some questions, I did want to ask, what has been the most pivotal piece of advice someone has given you? I was going to say the fitness industry, but possibly like life in general. That's kind of hard, I know.
Well,
but
let me. Okay.
Go on. No, go on.
Now I was gonna give Bryan time to think about it, and just like kind of praise him a little bit, because I say that question's important, because like Bryan's got like I said before, like he's got his heart on his sleeve, and like I think part of his personality leaks into every facet. And it almost seems like Bryan is wise behind his ears, not like Kelly, not like old man Kelly, right? But like, you're a little bit more quicker than that. But like, I don't know, like you seem to have had knowledge beforehand in every single like sentiment and every single aspect, like when it comes to fitness, working out, routine. I don't even know. I mean, you could probably get up a little bit earlier, but that's about it, right?
Oh, fuck that. Get up at 9, 10 o'clock. Nothing wrong with that. They're gonna try to judge you. Nothing wrong with that.
Baby Yoda.
They in the text, they're like, "Oh, David's still sleeping." David, fuck yeah, I'm still sleeping.
Yeah, every day. I'm like, don't expect a response until 10 a.m. with this guy.
David only gets up early when the ladies want him to go running with them.
Walk out.
Yeah.
That's the only time.
That's what it takes.
Who you are, David. No one's gonna like you.
Fuck. I slept till 11 a couple of days ago. Shit.
Let's see. So if I had to take one piece of advice, and I probably don't have the best piece on my head. So I was married at 22. I've lived a pretty long life. I'm old now.
How old are you?
33 in a week.
Okay.
And I was going through hard times in my marriage, and so many people. All of the people I grew up with are super religious. So they're like, you can't get divorced. Jesus doesn't like that. Jesus says you have to do this and that. And everyone was saying you have to fight for this and you have to fight for that. And I knew in my heart of hearts that fighting for something that's going to fail is pretty stupid. And so my mom told me, you have to do what feels right. And it's stupid, right? It's something so small and so simple, but like having the person who gave you your first lesson, like throughout your entire life, be the only person, the voice of like relative reason that you could like understand. Everyone else is like has their reasons, right? God says this, the law says this, this is what happens. These are like all they're all outside reasons, but she's like the only person who like told me something that like I could feel. And for me, I think that is like the piece of advice that I would share with every single person all the time is just got to do what's right, because I mean, you can't, I can't state this enough. You cannot hide from yourself. If you do something wrong, you're going to feel guilt. You're going to feel all these negative emotions, right? If you believe it's wrong. So you just got to do what's right. And I think that I've just tried to take the next best step in everything I do, as a parent, as a bodybuilder, as a trainer, as a friend, as a coach, I just try to be better and do better every day, because there's no reason not to.
Oh, I agree. I think I've had scenarios as well, and when I was at school or studying, where if I had decisions, or if just hearing sometimes your parents' voice, even though you can say the same thing to yourself, having it from a parent, from someone of guidance, it changes for me. I totally resonate with what you're saying, because they know you so well. They've known you from the first day. They all know you. They'll be the people that know you through in and out, right? They know you the best. So that's something I appreciate that, because I think that's something I can resonate with, is like sometimes just even if you say the same thing to yourself, hearing it from them, it's like, no, I definitely have that reassurance, so that's good. I definitely appreciate that. David, I wanted to follow up with you some questions too, I know.
What's up, Bryan?
Got one question.
I'm sorry, what? I can't hear you. Yo, no. I had a question because we chatted about this earlier. Not you and I, but the guys in the podcast about your involvement with a lot of the Black Lives Matters, your posts, and your input. What's something that you would say to someone that says, "Wait, don't all lives matter?" I mean, no, it's something that I think sucks that it's still being talked about. Like, people are still like, "Wait, I don't get it. All lives matters. Why do I only have to worry about Black lives?" And I think it's insane that people still think like that. But what would you say to somebody that just is so adamant about all lives matters? And you said earlier, sometimes we have to agree to disagree. But in my opinion, it's hard to agree to disagree with somebody that has that opinion. Like, it's something that I'm always like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're wrong.
So I think that's code word now. Obviously, we take it as code word for Black Lives Don't Matter, because that's what they're trying to say. Like, chill out, you're fine. All lives matter. What I would say to them is, I would say, okay, I'll say it. All lives matter. Now, can you say Black Lives Matter? And they won't. So that's where you can say, like, I can concede and say clear as day, Black Lives Matter. I can say all lives matter. Can you say both? And most of the time they can't. There's so many. I can share like a bunch of texts with you. I have like ways to catch people who say all lives matter that won't say Black Lives Matter. It's like, why won't you say Black Lives Matter? It's not. Or you can say all lives matter, including Black lives. If you don't want to say Black Lives Matter, say that. But they don't even say that, and it's code for them to not say Black Lives Matter. The sad thing about the American racists is they're little bitches. Honestly, sorry if the language is inappropriate. They are.
No, you're fine.
Because if I'm like
Unleash, Bryan.
If I'm
Let it go.
an angry Black man, right, and I hate white people, I'm gonna see a white person and I'm gonna say, "Fuck you," right? The racist Americans are they're like, oh yeah, we gotta follow our Constitution. We have the amendments, so we have to do this the right way. All lives matter. Blue lives matter. Like, what's a blue life? A blue shirt? Blue shirts matter. Sorry, you said that wrong. But like, that's their racist rhetoric. It's really like pathetic. They have all their guns and they're still scared to say what they mean. Like, we died for like jaywalking, and we're less afraid to say what we mean. It's a sad, weird kind of dynamic.
Yeah. Well, my whole thing too is, I mean, you hear a lot of people that are, I would say, I don't even know if intelligent would be the word, but they're like, they've gone to school, they make money, they're successful in whatever field they're in, happen to be white, and it's kind of like, logically speaking, right? It's like, you can't say all lives matters and then you have Black lives that are being still oppressed, in the very evolved form of racism that you have in America, where it's a lot of people aren't blatantly saying I'm a racist, I don't like Black people, but they're more like what you just said right now. It's like, oh no, we have to follow the laws, and laws are unjust, like, and what didn't MLK say, follow, it's okay not to follow an unjust law, it's not a law, like, it's an unjust law just degrades a person, and especially in this case, Black people. So it's just it's insane, especially seeing it even in my neighborhood. I mean, I live up here in Harlem, right? And even now, yeah, you still see people out there that aren't really with it. How are things in your hood, Bryan?
So the Upper West Side is probably the most.
It's insane liberal. Yeah, it's crazy.
So people here are fine. I actually saw one guy today. I saw this one guy who wears a Trump hat. Make America Great Again.
See the guy that walked into the club a couple times?
I'm gonna.
Yeah, was he that member?
Yeah, I think he is that
the
guy.
Big guy with the bench that always does bench press dumbbell.
No, he's not that guy.
Okay.
Oh shit, really? Oh, dude, there's so many. Yeah. They're like undercover, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
He's a really old man. His shirt today, I saw it. I walked close to him. It said, "Welcome to America. Now speak English." It's like, it's these are the kind of people who they believe that them coming over from Europe, they made this a white continent. Like, they honestly believe that people weren't here before them, people of color weren't here before them, that like they're just trying to make this lie true. They're just trying so hard to create this fabricated history. This is why so much of Black history is not in textbooks, because they're trying to teach it. The problem now is we have the internet, and they can't beat us down anymore, because even though they have tools against us, there are some really smart people in power and that are trying to make change. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean, speaking of that, I mean, I don't want to take more of your time because you have to work, but education's a big thing, in my opinion, when it comes to trying to lessen racism in America. Because to be honest with you, I don't think in my lifetime racism is going to be completely done in America. I don't even think in my kids' lifetime. So it's because you have such an ingrained form of racism that's coming from, American history, whether or not it's true or not,
So
people.
I think that there is potential for it to be done in your children's lifetime, and it matters, I think, what happens now. So like right now is a great chance for us to get rid of the unjust laws. Like they're getting rid of Confederate stuff and all that stuff, fine. That's all pretty froofy stuff. But
it doesn't mean anything, that's like great. It's like fucking changing the cover of the fucking Aunt Jemima like syrup. It's like I mean personally, I'm like I don't give a fuck about that. I actually care about change. Right. It's crazy.
I think that there are a lot of people who are running for Congress now that are more progressive, and I think that when the younger generation continues to grow and get bigger populace, we will vote out a lot of the non-forward thinking white Americans. I think there's a lot of them in hiding, but we can change with voting. And like now that all this information is being put out more and more and more, there's a lot, like even Netflix has its own like part for like black writers.
Black Lives Matters collection. Like it's the whole thing.
Yes, but they're specific to Black writers or Black artists and things like that. And now that Black kids, Black and brown and obviously others, see like they can do things, they will try to do things. It's as simple as telling someone you can't do something to stop them from trying, and which is why they've held us down for so long. So now that they see that things are possible, there will be higher level aspiration, which will force higher level change.
Yeah, it's like when they had Spider-Man be what, Latino. It's like
about that. Oh my god,
people are so pissed.
Wait, what? Spider-Man Latino in what? Which one?
Miles Morales.
Jacques, come on, bro. Fuck.
It's not his fault. It wasn't on the test. We got to educate him. It's our role to educate not
Spider-Man
only
wasn't
the
on the
kids.
test.
Speaking of that, Bryan, last question. Do you have any resources that you want to give people if they ever want to, be more educated in terms of Black lives and Black history?
I don't have them on hand. I should have pulled them up. So follow me on Instagram. You guys can put me out there. It's BRichFit, B as in Bryan, obviously, Rich as in Richards, FIT, _IFBB Pro. That name may change in the future, actually, because I'm more than just a fitness pro. But I'll share with you guys a bunch of resources, Baby Yoda, and I will.
My bad. Sorry.
So if you're in Manhattan and you have children, if you're white, black, brown, yellow, blue, you're whatever, and you have children, teach your children about what's happening right now. My wife and one of the kids that go to school at Phoenix we're doing marches every weekend. The Instagram pages and New York City Children for Black Lives Matter. We're doing marches, we're doing sidewalk chalk, we're doing like readings, we're trying to educate not only Black Americans, but also white and all Americans to what the situation actually is.
And you, Jacques. So.
Jacques is he's only 6 years. Give him a couple more years.
Yeah, come on.
He'll be okay.
New president, let's hope, right? I mean,
Jacques, you should run president.
Yeah, Jacques for president.
I'll tell you, man, that on there's a documentary on Netflix. It shows you how they think Trump went to run for office, and the best part of it is at the congressman's dinner when Obama is ripping him to pieces
Mm-hmm.
in 2012. You guys seen that? I forgot how funny it was.
He did the mic drop.
Yeah, but he's like, oh, I think Trump should run. He'll look great in the White House. And it's a picture of the White House, and it's like the shitty neon Trump lighting all over the White House, like so trashy, like AC. It's so funny. Like I was fucking crying. But not to detract from what you were saying though. But no, I think it's like the educational standpoint, and it is huge. Like I think I'm also proof that I've not maybe learned as much as I should have because I've not had to, you know. That's probably part of what I'll say. And it's like that's where I got a friend in the UK as well, where I got many friends in the UK, but one of them he was they're being upset about certain TV shows being taken down. And I'll tell you the truth, some of those TV shows are very funny. I didn't think they were racist personally, but I said, look, like unfortunately some things are needing to change, and if it's through things like this that you have to see that, then it's unfortunate it's taken that long.
Like
it's hard. It is. And again, personally, I didn't think it was that bad, but like I'm okay. Well, no, they're doing it for good reason. And I think the way I said to my friend was that I know you like the TV show, but you have to think of the bigger picture. You know, you have to think about that stuff.
Back on that, I think that privilege is a real thing, and everyone has to understand. Like I, as a man, have privilege over women, just in society, just the way society is, right? White men have privilege over white women. White men have privilege over white men. So like when someone says something is racist, with your privilege, you're not allowed to say it's not, because if I feel it's racist, it is. If I'm a woman and I feel it's sexist, it is. If I'm Asian or from somewhere else and I feel like it's xenophobic, it is, right? Like, so you can't say, I don't think, not you personally, but someone can't say,
right.
I don't think it personally is. Like, it is. There's microaggressions all over. And these are the kinds of things that promote improper interactions with other types of people. And that's how it is taught. That's why so many people are scared to go to Black communities, because they're taught through TV and through newspaper and through all the stuff that those places are dangerous. It's like, they're not all dangerous. I grew up in one. I'm alive. So, like, it's just, we have to be careful about the aggressions towards others. And when someone says something is not so right, even if we don't believe it, we have to try to understand why it is, try to understand why we feel like it is. Because even if you don't feel like it is, do you understand why they are? Because
put yourself in their shoes, try and understand. Yeah, I agree. That's the thing. I don't want, like, it's too easy to be like, oh, they shouldn't react like that, shouldn't behave like that. Like, put yourself in their shoes. If you think you react differently, then you have to have a discussion with someone about it, I think. But yeah. But we don't want to take any more of your time, Bryan. So we really want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us. We definitely hope to have you on here. No, not at all. We definitely would like to have you on in future. But like you've given us the information for where to reach out to follow you, and you know, like in terms of like Black Lives Matter and how to support that, and like you mentioned the peaceful protests and chalks on the weekend. So we thank you for telling us about that as well.
Awesome, it's my pleasure, and I'll be back whenever you guys need me.
Yeah, I'll catch you on your sidewalk gym, bro.
Yeah, we got to ask about that as well next time.
Get you on the sidewalk gym.
As long as you wear a mask, we're good to go. All right, I'll see you guys.
It's an infringement of my rights. I can't wear a mask.
All right, Bryan.
Thank you, Bryan. Take care, man. See you, man. See ya. So that was Bryan Richards. We were really happy to have him on. Dropped a ton of gems in there in that episode. We'll have to ask him about the sidewalk trick another time for sure, because he's got a sick setup.
Yeah, we were crunched on time, but there were so many things we could have asked Bryan, specifically about that sidewalk gym. I mean, if you follow him on Instagram, then you kind of see like what he's started to put together once this whole COVID thing started. But right now, it looks legit.
He's got a squat rack. He's doing benching. Yeah. And if you can't tell from some of the angles, take a look at the other angles, because he's just on the sidewalk on West End Ave, I believe, right?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Apparently, Greg rolled through one of these days.
I saw the video, and
Greg got time. Greg
kept saying he didn't have time. It's like, Greg, pandemic, bro.
That's cool. Greg, we coming for you.
Greg, I see you.
Yo, pause. All right.
No, but how what's the rest of your week looking like, guys? What you got planned? Because we normally do this later in the week, so it's a little bit earlier in the week this week. No,
not much.
So everyone's COVID free, right?
Hope so.
David, send that
I mean,
screenshot.
hope so. You got it. Yeah.
I got that test done a week ago. You know, who knows?
We haven't seen that. We haven't seen the screenshot of the test results, David. Until then, we're all You baby Yoda positive. That's for sure.
Hey yo.
Baby Yoda.
You gotta get a video or a filter of him as like the background or something. Yeah, the background of Baby Yoda like there, and you.
Shut up. Hold on, I think I could do that now. Hold on, give me a sec.
Go ahead. But it was good to have Bryan on. It was good to see him. Good to talk to him for a little bit. Obviously, there's a lot that we wanted to speak about, like everything from like him being in the fitness industry. How did he get there? Oh, snap. Look at the Baby Yoda. Yo, all right. So if you guys are listening, you got to check out the YouTube. Check out this YouTube.
Put it back on.
David is doing some
hold on,
Zoom call wizardry.
Oh, shit.
He's just putting Baby Yoda in the background.
But it's so worth watching on YouTube.
That's pretty good. All right.
Oh, shit.
I'm single.
He's single. He's single, by the way. What's your Instagram? Drop the handle.
David Bravo _trainer.
There you go.
Public. You don't even got to follow. Just slide them
This is
DMs.
public.
You can do all the creeping you want, and then maybe message.
There you
got
go.
the choice.
But we're gonna it was good to have Bryan on. It was good to talk to him, good to see him. We definitely have a lot more to touch up on a little bit later. So hopefully we can get him back on to drop some gems.
Nice. Do you guys want anything else before we wrap up?
Trying to think. Oh, we got to do workouts and the website.
Yes, the
Let's
website's
update
almost
the team.
done, guys. Right?
Website's coming up. We're almost done with. At least I'm almost done with the episodes page. I got a couple episodes left, and that'll be set to go. And then we got to make our videos for the workouts or for the instructional videos that we plan on doing at some point.
Well, I mentioned I did a shoot on the rooftop on Friday here in my building. Shit, if you're a super, you didn't hear that. And it's legit spot. It's good. And also do it Clinton Park. It's a pretty sick spot. So you guys let me know whenever you guys are ready. We'll set some stuffing up.
Yeah.
Because it came up here on a Friday on the mornings around 8 a.m., 8 till 9 a.m. The sun is it's obviously coming from the east. It's a pretty sick setting. We're on the way up. So you guys let me know. It doesn't have to be Friday at 8 a.m., but it turned out pretty good when we did that time. So
one last thing, Baby Yoda has a message. Wear your fucking masks. You got to watch a YouTube video for that.
All right, guys. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and comment. Follow us on Instagram at the Trainer Feed. And that's about it. We'll
drop us a DM if you think there's anyone we should be reaching out to or any kind of topics you think that we could be missing. Please reach out. We're more than welcome to.
People don't drop the DMs; they slide in.
We're a podcast. I didn't think people would want to be sliding. I think they want to drop them. No,
still slide into the podcast.
You know, the thing is, having a 3-way access to the Instagram always makes me trip out because someone will like your thing. And I'm like, why I have fucking access? Why do I like my own thing? Or when I responded to Angel's thing, and then he responded, and then David had liked it or something. So I was like, I didn't fucking do that. And I was like, oh, it's because it's someone else. So.
Also, people listening, don't get mad if we don't follow you back. We're not about that. So, don't get mad if you follow us and we don't follow y'all back.
But please reach out if you think that we can have some topics to discuss. But we'll get the workout video soon. We promise.
Yeah.
We promise.
And I got a lot of equipment. So I think I found a spot in Central Park. So I think I'm going to start training outdoors in Central Park. So if you guys want to meet up, work out.
Yeah. You let me know what day. I'm down.
Cool.
All right, guys.
All right.
Wrap it up.
Bye. Deuces.
Later.